Mr. President, welcome to Spotlight.
Oh, thank you very much, Kunjara, for having me. I'm honestly happy to be here. You've never hosted me, and what a way to end the year.
A beautiful way to end the year. We've been on, on a list because there's so many people that have been wanting to host you. We've been on a list waiting for this opportunity, and now that we have it, we are grateful that you honored our invitation. We'll start off with Chawama before we look at, your ambitions as President Harry Kalaba. But the Citizens First is taking part in the Chawama, by-election, which was, due to the, unsitting, I'll call it, or the declaration of the seat vacant of the Chawama Member of Parliament, Honorable Tasila Lungu, which follows, a long term of mourning on her side. Why is this by-election very critical for the Citizens First?
Thank you very much. The election is extremely critical for our party. Because first of all, we want to defend what I call an injustice. There should not even have been a by-election in Chawama if we were a people with feelings and morals. Tasila Lungu's absence from the house was not deliberate. Tasila Lungu's absence from the house has been necessitated by the fact that her father, the former president of the Republic of Zambia, the 60th Republican president, Edgar Chagwa Lungu, has not yet been put to rest. He has not yet been buried. His remains still remain in Johannesburg in a mortuary because of government's insistence on being part of that funeral. And therefore, in our culture, we say, Ubukalamba bwamfwa kushika. Ubukankala bwamfwa kushika. So if you have not buried a person, it means you have not yet completed the rituals of a funeral. Tasila has not completed that process. And the Speaker of the National Assembly knows that. Mr. Akainde Chilema knows that. The UPND know that. But because there are people who don't have empathy and sympathy, they chose to use the arrogance of power to push for a by-election in Chawama. And they were hoping all of us were just going to look at them to say, no, you take it because if we want to. We said, no. We must stand in their way and tell them, this is not the way you govern. This is not the way you stay with your fellow human beings. There must be a better way of doing our politics. Secondly, the Chawama by-election is a preparatory election for us. Remember, we have the general elections coming up in the next 8 months. In the next 5 months, we'll be having nominations for members of parliament, as well as myself going for the presidency yet again. And so for us, we want to see the gaps. We want to gauge our popularity, our strengths and our weaknesses. We do a SWOT analysis so that as we go into the general elections in 2026, we exactly know where to hold Chawama and manage Chawama. But I can tell you with supreme confidence that the Citizens First is going to win that seat because our candidate, Devson Mulenga, is a local of that place. Devson Mulenga was a councillor in Chawama. Devson Mulenga was deputy mayor here in Lusaka. Devson Mulenga was district commissioner here in Lusaka. And even when he was having all these positions, Devson Mulenga never left Chawama. He has always been staying with Chawama, barring and wedding the people of Chawama together. So when there's a funeral, he's attending with them. When there's a wedding, he's attending with them. When there is any situation happening in Chawama, he is there with them. He is not doing it because of elections. That is his way of life, because that's where he lives. He understands the challenges of drainages. He understands the challenges of electricity shortages in Chawama. He understands the levels of unemployment. He understands the insecurity of our youths who have now turned to alcoholism, as well as high levels of prostitution happening because our people have not been given an opportunity. Devson Mulenga is the person. And yet on the other side, you find that the UPND has imported a candidate who doesn't stay in Chawama. They're getting somebody who stays, I don't know whether it's Garden House or wherever they're getting him, to come and be with the people of Chawama. Those kind of politics are bad. Those kind of politics of bringing in people abashikala mchawama mwaleta is wrong, because it is disrespect for the people who live there. And for us as Citizens First, we are very sensitive to that matter, and will ensure that Captain Mulenga na nguba musala fidafine Captain Mulenga tafumina mchawama elo aldi permanent secretary kumuchinga, his family remained there. Fidafine tafumina mchawama when he was district commissioner is the same way he will not leave Chawama even when he becomes member of parliament. Remember, there's an elderly man there in Chawama called Donald Chirufia. He was member of parliament for Chawama for a very long time. He never left Chawama. Those are the footprints. Those are the footsteps Mr. Mulenga is taking. And I will ensure he doesn't shift. He will be there, because we don't want jokes.
Chawama is traditionally PF stronghold. You fielded a candidate there. If Citizens First cannot win, or at least come out second in this particular election, I know you were talking about trying to see where the gaps are. Is this going to be an admission that 2026 is a mathematical impossibility in case you don't win or become second?
No, first of all, there's nothing like, well, guess we don't win. We're going to win Chawama. We are going to win Chawama. And the people of Chawama are game. They are not interested in the lives of UPND. But let me tell you, hypothetical, to answer your question, even in the most unlikely event that we came second, in the most unlikely event, because that's not going to happen, and we came second, it's either by UPND now votes, or something has just not gone the way we think it should go, because it's empirically not possible for UPND to win that election. But UPND are coming from a huge deficit. You've seen Vale Pelo Vunga kuwena Chawama, and we have told the people of Chawama, Vali Renyu Vunga, Nindalama Shenuishi, Vadi Filo Kuripila Vaneno Matava. They have failed to pay farmers who supplied maize Kuriba FRA, but they are bringing Mifo Shabunga Kuri Imwe. Eko nafu makumansa, they say, Umutaba Weshilo, Waukombole Penene. You eat their food. Go and teach them a lesson. They will never learn, because voting for UPND in the Chawama by-election is saying we want Mr. Kainde Hichilema to continue ruling this country in perpetuity, because that's what he wants. And we want to stop that. So let's stop him now, so that he knows Lusaka has refused. Chawama is representing the feelings of Lusaka. Chawama is representing the feelings of the non-government organization, particularly the Oasis Forum in the form of Beauty Katebe. Chawama is representing most of us in the opposition who said no to Bill 7. Chawama is representing those gallant men and women on the floor of that parliament who stood up and said even in poverty there is dignity. Whatever have been given, or will not be induced by anything else or anything. Chawama represents that. So for us, we are going to stand with the people of Chawama, and the people of Chawama are going to stand with the Citizens First to win that seat.
You've mentioned the Oasis Forum, and you know, Madam Beauty Katebe herself did mention concerning the opposition, saying if the opposition is not united, it's going to be impossible to unseat, you know, the UPND. And now you're going into this by-election. Most of the opposition political parties that have been active have fielded, you know, candidates, including the Patriotic Front through, you know, the Tonsi Alliance rather through FDD have fielded, you know, a candidate. Now, are you not splitting votes as opposition, and is this not going to be then ultimately to the UPND's advantage?
Look, first of all, I would want to draw your attention, Conjura, to the elections we had in 2011. In 2011, I think there were more than 10 candidates who stood, including the ruling party. And the people still said they were going to vote for Mr. Michael Sata. In 2021, We were 16. I heard you giving those figures you were giving. No, this one got 2.80, this one got 1.80, Kalaba got 25,000, which was just half a percentage of the people who voted. You know, that's why they say where I come from, meaning if you were a great farmer or a great hunter in the past, you cannot say, my son, my daughter, stop crying. You would have eaten meat when I was a hunter. You would not say that. You have to live in the present. The people have moved on. Zambia has decided that they're no longer going to be dealing with the UPND, and that the 2.8 Mr. Kainde Hichilema got was just accidental. He's not going to get that anymore. Even him, he knows it. He's not going to get that more. And you know the by-election in Chama, what it has done, Konjera? They've even brought now electricity. There is no load shedding now in Chawama. There's no load shedding in Chawama. Abantu na watama light number from A up to Z, meaning by UPND vamu follow.
Is it only Chawama that is not experiencing load shedding, or is it several, locations?
No, but they've given you 10 hours of power. In the last 4 years, they've been giving us 2 hours of electricity. Just because the elections are in the next 5 months, they now begin giving you 10 hours of power. And Mchawama Mwena, it's an interrupted. I'm a lifestyle, Mchawama. Because they know there's a by-election. Number, ukula shinga abantu Vaseline mumenso. Kula kata abantu mumenso. Trying to think that people are not late. They are not serious. I mean, it's an underestimation of the people's intelligence. I am a light vamipele Mchawama ya fake. These 10 hours of power you are saying that now interrupted is fake. It's fake because it is coming on the backdrop of the elections coming in the next 5 months. That's why they're giving you that. In the last 4 years, they were not even interested in talking about electricity. So when we told them ourselves that this electricity thing you're talking about, you can stop exporting power, they didn't listen. They continued exporting power. Now, because we're going towards elections, they have stopped. And the vice president was saying the other day, no, there is a lot of water now in the Kariba. And then the other minister says, no, now we have begun importing. You can see that there is confusion in that house. Even in lies, if you don't sit down together to see how you can deal with your lies, you confuse yourselves. So clearly the UPND have confused themselves, and they're not telling us the truth. And because they're not telling us the truth, we need to punish them. Now, coming to your question. What was your question again?
The question was on splitting the vote.
Splitting
are you
the
not
vote
stronger as a united opposition facing...
So I was answering your question that in 2016, we were 2021, we were 16 candidates. 16. 15 opposition political parties. And plus the ruling party then, 16. And the people said, we are going to vote for Akainde Hichilema. They still identified Akainde Hichilema. And Mr. Hichilema won. Despite having all those political parties. It is not a question of having many political parties. I don't subscribe to that notion. It's a question of going for who is the right leader at the moment. Now, that is not to say we are not interested in alliances as citizens first. Remember, we were in alliances ourselves. Abatampire Uka, Hifwevo was CF together with other colleagues. And the UKA grew to about 14, 17, 18 political parties. But the bottom line of this all is the fact that alliances can work, alliances cannot work. We were in UKA for 1 year, 3 months as citizens first. We learned our lessons in UKA. For now, we have said we are going to be on our own. For avoidance of doubt, we are going to be on our own, and we will work with political parties that think they buy in our vision. Like we have other political parties already that are working with us. We have about 4 political parties that have come to say we are working with you citizens first, and you, Harry Kalaba, we believe in your leadership. Those will work with them. Those who want us to sit down in a conference or boardroom to begin choosing a president, the CF is saying, the Central Committee says, we have passed that stage already. We had our convention on the 7th of December. 2024, and I was elected as president of the Citizens First and the presidential candidate for the 2026 elections. So we are not going to waste time anymore in the boardrooms. We will instead concentrate on mobilizing in the remaining months, consolidating, selling ourselves and our candidate so that the people can know who to vote for. Because definitely the CF remains the party of choice.
If the opposition heeded to the Oasis Forum's call that, you know, all these alliances come together and form, for example, a grand alliance, and in the grand alliance they say, President Kalaba, we feel you are strong to lead, but we feel that you must be running mate to any other candidate that they choose to pick. Is it going to be president or nothing for you, or is it something that you are willing to discuss?
Me, I've told you already that first of all, the people of Zambia are the ultimate deciders in this battle. It is the people, not people with political parties. It is the people themselves. What are the people saying? If the people are saying something else and you go and sit and begin doing something else, then you are not serious. The CF is listening to the people. If the people say, Harry Kalaba, don't stand, you ask the CEO of Crown TV, Madam Wapeku Mwenda, to stand as president. We'll come here as CF and tell them, Madam, the people have said, well, we have gone in Chadiza, we have gone in Chipata, in Mpulungu. They are saying, you should be the one to stand. Please take over. Because it's up to the people. You can't force yourself on the people. So if the people say, Harry Kalaba, this is not your time, it's time for another person, it's okay. Let it be.
You need about 10,000% of your previous, you know, vote tally to become president. Do you think that 4 years, almost 5 years on now, you have amassed enough, you know, confidence in the voter that the next president of this country must be Uncle Harry?
Look, you ask a very important question, and many people are looking at it from that perspective, that because you got this in this year, therefore you get this in that other year. Mr. Sata in 2001, Mr. Sata had one member of parliament, you remember? In 2006, 5 years later, Mr. Sata had 43 members of parliament, you recall? Now, how do you explain, what's the percentage of one member of parliament to 43 members of parliament? How do you explain that? That's a gigantic leap, eh? Gigantic leap. And those who are saying, Mr. Kainde Ichilema himself, when Mazoka died, I think he left a number of members of parliament. When Mr. Ichilema came in, the numbers kept on dwindling. And then in 2021, the numbers just skyrocketed. In politics, that mathematics does not work. What works is, have you delivered to the people of Zambia? If they have delivered, then they should not be worried. But if they have not delivered, and for avoidance of doubt, by UPND, if they have not delivered, they should not even worry about what Harry Kalaba got. The people will decide themselves. The people will decide. How come we won the councillor? We beat them with a 2.8 behind their backs. We beat them there in Lopososhi. How come we are giving them sleepless nights there? If you are to follow these percentages they're talking about, those don't work. What will work is what the people of Zambia want. They want change, and they've identified Citizens First and Harry Kalaba as the person that can bring down the Akainda machinery, and will bring him down.
Getting to that identity of Citizens First and Harry Kalaba, what do you think the Zambian voter at the moment thinks when they see your face or come across your name in a tabloid to say Harry Kalaba, and why do you think then that they've resolved to choose you as the next president?
Look, I think first of all, I have a track record. I am one of the longest serving foreign ministers in this country, if not the longest, without unbroken service of 4 years. I think that tells you a lot about a person and the character, because foreign affairs is one of the most sensitive ministries in government. Secondly, I was in Bahati constituency. I am yet to come across a member of parliament who will even do much as I did in Bahati constituency in the 2 terms that I was there. I was Minister of Lands and Environment. The people know what I did. I'm the one who introduced in the Ministry of Lands the Zambia Integrated Land Management Information System, the ZIUMIS. We brought experts to come and begin demarcating land and begin giving people title. He was telling people Rwanda, a country of only 17,000 square kilometers, everybody, Rwanda is sitting on 27,000 square kilometers, I'm sorry. But everybody is almost sitting on title. Zambia, we are on 752,000 square kilometers. And only the time I was lands minister, we only had about 900,000 people with title. When I was leaving, there were about 2 million people with title. And my idea was that everybody should be on title. You, where you are, you should have land on title. And everybody, Madam CEO, the general manager, or the managing director, or what, they should all be on title. They should have titles. A farm, a small holding, and a residential. They should have those 3 lands. And this has not happened, despite us having huge chunks of land. That is coming to an end when I become president. We want Zambians to have land, not outsiders. Today, when I was lands minister, I stopped the trend of foreigners selling land. Whether they are fronting anybody or what, I stopped that trend. Today, we have foreigners selling land. It's a business of selling land, because selling land is like selling a country. It's like selling your birthright. That is coming to an end when I become president, because land is sacred, it is sacrosanct, and the manner in which you deal with land must be revered, not the way we're doing it now. So those things will change. To cut the long story short, when people look at me, they will look at somebody that saved the country with sincerity and humility. I went in public service to save the people, not to amass wealth. That is why I'm still here.
Now that you've talked about, your past role as Foreign Affairs Minister, I'll move a little to, foreign policy. And this is concerning the U.S. and aid. Now, the U.S. is pivoting towards heavy investment in Zambian mining. As a former Foreign Affairs Minister, you know the game. Is Zambia becoming a playground for U.S.-China, rivalry under President Hichilema? And how would a Harry Kalaba administration, sort of balance sovereignty with the desperate need for the American dollars?
I'll tell you that you bring out China and America as being sovereign states that are fighting using the Zambian terrain. It should never be that way. It's because we have a president in that house who does not understand foreign policy and has not taken time to understand foreign policy. A country like Zambia goes on the foreign market for their own interests. America comes to Zambia for its own interests. Any country must know. When I was foreign minister, I was asking my colleagues in foreign affairs, why do we have an embassy in Malawi? I was telling them, why should we have an embassy in Malawi and not Uganda? Why should we have an embassy in Mozambique, Maputo, and not sit in Seychelles? Why should we have an embassy in Malaysia and not in Singapore? Remember, when I was foreign minister, I'm the one who brought to the fore the foreign economic policy. So now, to answer your question, it is because Zambia's foreign policy now is not clearly defined. we don't know what we support and what we don't support. And that is why you find yourself in problems. Mr. Ichilema came to the presidency, or the UPND, came to the two governors with a thinking that for them, they were going to shun China because they thought the Americans had problems with China. So they were going to shun China and they were just going to be dealing with the Americans. But that is not the way foreign policy works. My problem with China is not the problem America has with China. Zambia's interests with Russia are not the same interests that the Chinese have in Russia. So why would another sovereign state, as is defined by the Vienna Convention, dictate to us to begin looking at a country in the manner they want us to look at that country? That's why when I was foreign minister, I made sure that we had relations with Beijing, just like we maintained relations with Washington. We maintained relations with Moscow, as well as relations with any other country that we thought we were going to get benefits from. At a time, the whole world had developed its cold feet with Moscow. At the time, I think of the Soviet Union, that time. You recall that we used to have a direct flight ourselves. From Lusaka to Moscow, there was a plane that was flying from Lusaka to Moscow. We didn't care what Washington said. We didn't care what Beijing said. We were looking at our interests. And this is what our foreign policy entails. But when you go and become president and you begin cheating the Chinese, you begin cheating the Americans, you begin cheating the Russians, and you think that you can outsmart all these people, they have been doing foreign policy way before you even knew what foreign policy was all about. So, the Americans are in Zambia for a purpose. The Chinese are not here on holiday. They are also here for a purpose. Just like the Russians are here for a purpose. Zambia is in Washington. We have an embassy in Washington for a purpose. We should insist on our purpose rather than getting confused with other sovereign states' intentions in our country here. And why does it seem like Zambia is favoring and not favoring another nation? It's because we have prostituted with our foreign policy. Dr. Kaunda was very clear on what he wanted. Mr. Sata was very clear. Levy was very clear. This man that we have currently does not know whether he's coming or going with foreign policy. On the one hand, he says this to the West. The other day, he says this to the East, China. China, and I can say this on TV here, China remains an all-weather friend of Zambia. Just like China is an all-weather friend of the USA. The USA has a lot of dates with China itself. So they get along, but there are levels where they don't get along. So Zambia should not just go in and say, oh, because I think us will take sides. We don't take sides. That is why I told Mr. Ichilema, when he became president, there was a vote on Ukraine and Russia. Zambia, what did Zambia do on Ukraine and Russia? Zambia absconded. I mean, Zambia voted that Russia should have been censured. When it came to imposing sanctions on Russia, Zambia absconded. And I called the president. That time he was picking cause because he was trying to practice being a Democrat. Now he can't. I told him, Mr. President, you have made a mistake. That is not the way foreign policy works. It doesn't work that way. Zambia has been consistent on this matter.
What did Zambia need to do?
Zambia should have stayed away because Zambia is a friend of Ukraine. Just like Zambia is a friend of Russia. There is no country right now, as you and I are speaking, that gives us more scholarships for our young guys going to universities more than Moscow. And yet, Zambia has been getting a lot of fertilizer from Ukraine. And we have got also our students studying in Ukraine. We've got bilateral relations with Ukraine. Now, for us to go and begin barring one over the other does not work that way. We should have maintained our interest in Ukraine and maintained our interest in Russia while pursuing the policy that we've been pursuing all along of non-interference, but resolving issues amicably, talking to all parties. Because if you don't take sides, that was Kaunda's view, and which view we embraced under the Satire government and the Edgar Lungu government, was that if you don't take sides in either Ukraine or Russia, it gives you authority to go to Moscow and talk to Moscow and tell them, please, there's no need to fight. Resolve this thing amicably. You can also go to Ukraine, talk to Ukraine and tell them, please, this matter does not need to be escalated. They will not view you as a person that has taken sides. But when you are at the UN there, you go and vote. You go and vote to say, no, Russia is wrong. And then the following day want to go to Russia and tell them, no, they will not listen to you. You have taken away your authority. That is the position Zambia has taken. And remember, as I said earlier on, Kojara, we are in the foreign space for our own interests. Zambia is a third world country. We are lacking medicines. We are lacking technology. We are lacking a lot of things in our country. And so you can't start playing the game of those big boys. You end up being crushed. So our foreign policy must have been that they should have remained neutral. And they proved me wrong, that Mr. Chilema. When I was telling him, he didn't want to listen. Now look where he has ended us now. He's now making the Americans think that the Chinese don't like them. The Chinese now, the East Americans. Zambia is not the space for fighting. Zambia is a country to bring interests together. See how each one can vary their interests, and now we can deal with those interests without jeopardizing our own security.
One of the, common, names that comes up when a government forms is the IMF. Now, inflation is hovering around 11%, and while the IMF praises restored stability, the person in Chawama or the person in Bahati in this instance is still struggling with the cost of millimil. Is your Citizens First plan to do away with the IMF program or reject it entirely, or do you have a secret formula to fix the kwacha, that the current administration seemingly, is struggling with?
The Citizens First has a very robust plan of how it's going to resuscitate and give credence, gravitas to the kwacha. You cannot be a country that is always importing. You can't go anywhere. You have to export. That is why when you look at our manifesto, it's talking about industrialization. We believe value addition is the way to go. Zambia produces copper. Before, we used to make bullets in Umpepetua, if you remember. We no longer make bullets. We are importing bullets from China. 61 years after our independence. Zambia produces copper, and yet our copper cathodes are coming from South Africa. Zambia produces tobacco everywhere. In Eastern Province, go to Western Province, we are growing tobacco. Yet our cigarettes are being processed in Malawi. We grow soya beans, but our soya chunks are being processed in Tanzania. This is a country where you have Mukula tree. Mukula tree, the bats for guns is coming from Mukula tree. The Mukula tree has got a medicinal effect for ARVs. Mukula tree has got all those kind of things, but we have allowed Mukula tree to be going to China without us adding value to it. When I become president, that is coming to an end. We would want value addition to be key. Dr. Kaunda, with his very modest education, understood that Zambia can only have value and create jobs if we are doing value addition in our own country. But if you can't value add, then how will you create jobs for your people? If you are shipping out raw materials, it means you are shipping out jobs to other countries. Why should we be importing bats for guns from Ukraine or from Russia? Why should we be doing that? Why don't we get the technology here? They help us with expertise and we do it from here. 61 years, Conjura, we should still be importing even uniforms. For ZRI officers, it has to be imported. Uniforms for our police, we have to import. Why would we do that? Those kind of jokes are coming to an end. Because we've got so many tailors in this country. If you have not yet found experts who can do it, bring tailors together, bring them together, give them a contract. Uniform. And the money remains here. You know, we need to emulate how our other countries are doing it, not the way we are doing it. Here we are promoting outsiders too much at the expense of our own people here. That's why this country, Zambia, it is the only country without a billionaire in the SADC region. Why? Because of your policies. You don't think that your fellow Zambian should have money. You think it must be somebody from Lebanon, it must be somebody from India, must be somebody from America, China. Those are the ones entitled to be rich. You yourself should not be rich because the Anti-Corruption Commission and the DEC are going to arrest you. Let me become president. One of my major tasks is to create a billionaire in this country. When you have young people like yourselves who are so dedicated, you have given yourself to the cause, so responsible, all you need is support. If you have that support, this Crown TV can be something else. But nobody will give you the support until the citizens first comes into government. Because we understand that unless a Zambian is empowered, the nation will remain impoverished. We leaders running for elections, we need to reach a stage to understand that I need to come to you as my fellow Zambian and ask you for support because I'm carrying your interests. Why should we be going right, left and center asking for outsiders to help us? That's why businessmen and women, hear me right. When we form government this coming August, whether you are a businessman in the UPND, whether you are a businessman in the MMD or UNIP, for as long as you are a Zambian and you qualify, you will not be discriminated against on the basis of you being affiliated to any political party. We will not say what UPND is doing to others. No, because no, it is people who are qualified. If there are new people who are coming, they are qualified, the CF will give them an alternative because they are Zambians. And I want to tell you this, and I've never said this before. I'll say it on this platform. When we come in power, RDA, hear me right. Any tender, $20 million and below, will not be given to a foreign company. It will have to be given to local companies. And if a local company agrees to be fronted by a foreign company, both you who was allowed to be fronted and the one who fronted you will face the consequences of the law, which we will coin as economic sabotage. We will not allow that.
You've spoken about, the country not taking certain matters seriously. You've actually called it a joke that certain entities from outside are not, being regulated as they should. Now, I'll get to mining and, the environmental effects that this does pose on the country. The Kafua River was poisoned this year. 1.5 million tons of toxic waste. That's about 30 times what was originally, admitted. You talk about the citizens first, but your critics say the opposition has been quiet on holding foreign mining giants accountable. What is your specific ultimatum to entities such as Sinometals in this particular instance?
Look, I want to tell you that Sinometals and everything happening around Kafua will be reviewed on the coming to government. We have taken great exception to what has happened there. And we have also noticed the laxity on the part of government on that matter. When we come in government, we are going to follow that thing head on. A commission of inquiry will be constituted to look at why this matter has been glossed over and the effects it has on our population, because people have been affected. But clearly you can see people are dragging their foot or their feet. We will see in the next 8 months. The people of Zambia will decide who takes over power. And if that power, or when that power comes to citizens first, then the answers will be given on why Sinometals has gone around all this matter. Somebody will explain, I can tell you. Somebody will explain. I am coming to help both the strong and the weak. That is the job of citizens first. We are not coming to side with anybody. We are coming to do that which is right. That has been my track record when I was Minister of, in the Office of the Vice President, when I was Minister of Lands, and when I was Foreign Minister. I don't side with people who are powerful in their pockets. I side with what is right.
You promise a massive shift towards, local enterprise support. Critics argue that this, level of spending is fiscally impossible and would immediately violate the IMF program. Where will the billions required for your vision come from, and the specific tax reforms that are going to fund it? Do you have, a blueprint for how this is going to be funded?
Of course, of course. First of all, I didn't even answer the question on the IMF. Is Zambia, are we going to veer off from the International Monetary Fund when we come into government? I mean, that's I say no, we will not. But we are going to develop a special relationship with the IMF. It is one that is going to protect the interests of our country, one that is going to protect the interests of what we have promised the people of Zambia and nothing else. The IMF was formed after the Second World War, together with the World Bank. And they were formed for a specific purpose. They were rebuilding countries in Europe that had their infrastructure damaged. And after that, they still had money. And the IMF said, well, we have still got a bit of money, and we seem to have finished dealing with the infrastructure in Europe, which was damaged during the war. What do? They created the World Bank, they created the IMF to give money to developing countries like Zambia. And why am I telling that history? I'm telling you that history to tell you that it is not the IMF or the World Bank that is going to finish our problems. What is going to finish our problems is our own resolute behavior in ensuring that we tackle the challenges that we are going through as a people. Where will you get the money from? One of the biggest avenues we are going to get money from is from the mines. There are a lot of gaps, a lot of financial seepages in the mining sector. I can quickly run you through right now here. I'll tell you that when you are a government that is not responsible, you are going to give tax holidays to mining conglomerates for 5 years. When you are a government that doesn't care about your own people, you are going to reduce the mineral royalty tax from 6% where you found it, and you take it to 3%, which is basically amounting to revenue loss for your country. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. When you are a government that does not care about your people, you will not care whether it is copper being exported or whether it's cobalt being exported, because you simply don't care. The citizens first in government will ensure that those anomalies are corrected. And I will call the mining giants around the table. I will not follow them there. They will follow me as it was, because I will have the power of the people. They'll follow me. And I'll tell them, the people of Zambia have asked me to give them answers. And I want to report to the people of Zambia after 100 days of what we have done concerning the financial seepages, because they have to see development. You have Solwezi. You have Northwestern Province, which has become the new copper belt. And yet when you see the road network, the infrastructure in that place, it's like they don't even mine anything. The only place you can see that they are getting money, or there's money in Northwestern Province, is the number of flights Nabasungu, who are going there, then you know, oh, okay, here there is activities happening. But the lives of our people have not changed. I can't tolerate that. There must be an equal effect in the lives of people and the minds that are happening. The levels of social corporate responsibility will have to be reviewed. But coming down to the financial seepages, Wakaunda, when he was president, he had what he was calling Memako. Do you remember Memako? He had Memako. That was a metal marketing board, whose task was basically to compare what was being mined and what was being exported, so that there was no cheating from the two processes. Memako was just cementing that. A similar body of that nature is coming in this country. Because today, we only talk about copper. Why don't we talk about cobalt? Why? Because cobalt is fetching for about $33,000 per metric ton. I think so, somewhere there. You can check it, you can Google it. While copper is only about $9,700 or $500 per metric ton. Somewhere there about. Why are we not talking about cobalt, which is fetching much more, and we're still talking about Kalumbila, Lumwana, Kansanshi, all producing copper, never cobalt? That is my problem. We need to start knowing how much cobalt is there, because while there is copper, there is cobalt. How come nobody's talking about cobalt? That's my problem. How can you be talking about a country like Zambia, which has even got all gold mines all over the place? You've got gold mine in Munilonga, you've got gold mines in Impika, you've got gold mines here in Rufunsa, you've got gold mines literally everywhere. You have got gold mines. And yet, the country stands up to celebrate a president who has not thought through a process. He goes to Paris Club, secures a loan with the International Monetary Fund of $1.4 billion, and that they'll be giving you the money in batches of $400 million for every 4 months. And the country says, Mwaumioyo, aturuishi Nkongole. Now, those are jokes. Because if I were the president, I would not have gone to Paris. I would have gone to Lumwana, Kalumbira, Kansanshi, and say, colleagues, where is our money here? Colleagues, where is the money for the Zambian people? Wakaunda, if he was behaving the way the UPND is behaving, he would never have built schools. He would never have built roads. Wakaunda was using money from the mines to do what he has done for this country. These guys are using money from the mines to give outsiders. That is changing when we come into government. There will be a policy shift. There will be less dependency on the International Monetary Fund. We'll have to depend on our resources here because we have them. This is a country that is blessed. We have literally everything. What we don't have is a leadership.
Amongst the things that the UPND administration, now that you've talked about, the IMF and debt, is the debt restructuring that, President Hakainde Hichilema and his team have managed to, strike with various, bondholders. Now, what is your general assessment of this score? So they say it's a quenu that they have managed to, restructure our debt.
Tell me, what is the effect of that restructuring of that same debt talking about on the people of Chawama? Avena Chawama, if nama bondholders, we met them on Paris Club, what is the effect of that restructuring on the people of Chawama there? What is the effect? Because even when you are fighting to restructure that debt, it must move in tandem with alleviating the challenges of the people. On the other hand, you don't want to alleviate the challenges of the people. You are increasing tariffs, and they should be cost reflective. And on the other side, you are busy saying, no, Parliament must become 277 members of Parliament. Government must spend more because you want to consolidate your power. It is that kind of hypocrisy That is not correct. So I will tell you myself that the key in whatever you are saying is tapping in the natural resources, managing our minds with seriousness, facing the investors that will have our interest. Magufuli in Tanzania, may his soul rest in peace, use the mines. They threatened, no, we are going. He says, yeah, but our people will not get peanuts. Finally, the mines came to their senses and they agreed, and they gave Tanzania a lot of millions, which they could not have necessarily gotten. What did he do? He made the Dar es Salaam hospital become a top-notch hospital. He pushed money into ensuring that he bought planes for the people of Tanzania. Money was invested in the infrastructure. Electricity was up because he got what belonged to the people and gave it to the people. Our colleagues in government today, they are not negotiating for the people. Just see how they are having cocktails every time. They are negotiating for themselves, not for the people. That greedy behavior is coming to an end in August.
The previous administration, led to debt, especially with regards infrastructure, projects that were, funded through, debt. How is the Citizens First economic model different from the past, failed programs, and what specific sectors will you prioritize, especially with regards job creation?
The Citizens First model is based on value addition. That is our password for economic emancipation. What are you going to prioritize? I told you earlier on that we are going to be value adding. So industrialization for us is key. We want to improve the agriculture sector. If we manage the agriculture sector well, we anticipate millions of jobs to be created within that sector. Zambia has been exporting maize. We want to begin value adding. We want our farmers ukwate figayo. Farmer nga alima amataba yakwe, instead of just exporting raw as it is, government will encourage farmers. Moneni kwali befya kudya fya nkoko, kwali befya kudya fya nkumba, kwali befya kudya kumata befinga fumako. So it's now up to you as a farmer to choose whether lefo ukwate chigayo, to have those things and then begin exporting in that fashion. In that way you'll be creating jobs, because ero leshte chigayo ngori farmer nishwala ingisho mwacha kusitapati chigayo ero wale pange fya kudya fya nkoko nishkula abale fya kudya fya nkoko. So there'll be multiple jobs that will be created, because we believe ourselves we just can't be exporting maize in its raw form. But Congo DRC, 120 million people in the Congo DRC. Mostly they have been depending on Zambia to feed the Congo DRC. What we should have done is not to be exporting amatara to DRC, because what the Congolese do when they import amatara from here is that they figure out they give their people, and the people get the jobs our people should have had. So if wenga balefo ayobunga kubashisha obunga, ngabalefo ifya kudya fya nkoko kubasisha kudya fya nkoko, in that way the much required resource will come into the country. That is part of the industrialization agenda. Secondly, we want to make sure in the agriculture sector that we just do not deal with just amataba. We do soya. I was telling you earlier on, soya beans tulalima, tobacco tulalima. We want to begin industrializing that sector of tobacco. Cotton tulalima, but the suits we are wearing are coming from Zimbabwe. The chitenges our women are wearing every day ngabale kuma kitchen parties na kuma tebeto. Fima pamukambo. Why can't we start doing our own vitenges here? Because before we used to have Kafiwe textiles, you remember?
Yes.
Mulungushi textiles we had. But those things are not working. So the CFN government is saying that waimba cotton, when we used to have cereals in Wansha. Ngatua panga cotton, we need this cotton to be value added here. So that ama shirt we are making here, ama suit we are making here, ama nani we are making here. Instead of saying no, ineshifale fya Zambia, mvale fya kuhonko. But ngufale fya kuhonko, it means you are giving jobs to the people in Honko. We want to give jobs to our youths here. So just agriculture sector alone will create a lot of jobs for our people, because there's a lot of value addition to be done within that umbrella. We have also identified tourism as key. We have identified health as extremely important, because we need to have health tourism in this country. We are surrounded by 8 countries. Why should people from the DRC Congo, they fly over Zambia, all over South Africa? We want them to come here. Mukundapua. Money is coming in the country.
I have 3 thematic areas before we wind up with the conversation that I want to engage you on. Number one, when we talked of the IMF and what this administration, has engaged itself in, there are some things that were done. One of them being the removal of subsidies, from fuel. Are you going to, bring back the subsidies, because this cost has now been, placed on the Zambian to pay the actual cost of fuel as compared to subsidies?
We will not allow that. We will not allow that. Look, do you know that America subsidizes milk for its citizens? People have demonized subsidies, They think subsidy is an animal that should not be looked at. That's why exposure is critical. The job of government is to help citizens manage their lives. That is why you are electing me. That is why in your heart you have said, it's because you are not choosing me so that now we should be living well. You are choosing Kalaba and the citizens first, so that your life too can be impacted. Because if Zambia can manage to say, if we subsidize fuel, it will enable farmers buy more diesel for their tractors, do much more hectareage for themselves. Why not? The IMF will give us guidelines, but I told you in the beginning, Zambia will not despise the IMF, but we want the IMF to meet us on our terms. We want them to understand the situation we are going through. We have suffered a lot as a people because the leaders have lacked courage. We need leaders with courage. Leaders who are going to tell the IMF, if I don't subsidize electricity for them, they will not manage to have electricity in their homes. If we don't manage to subsidize this sector for us to boost this other sector, we'll have a problem. And energy is at the epicenter of economic growth.
Would you bring back subsidies even if it meant borrowing money to,
Why would you borrow money? Forget about borrowing. I told you about the financial seepages in the mining sector. Indala mashire oneka uma mining mudia. Tamule ipisha pono kuipisha hapa. Indala mashire oneka uma mining mudia. Indala mabale senda mulelolesha. But when I say if you come and help our people, are you going to borrow? We are not going to borrow. We are going to use our local resources to service this economy.
I'll bring you to one of the most critical, aspects of our economy, energy. We have for so long been living in the dark, and this is owing to, the lack of power, hydro-generated power. Some plants have been commissioned, solar energy, plants. What is the CF's solution to the power challenge that Zambia seems to have?
Now, the first thing that will happen when we form government as citizens first is that we are going to cancel all these Tuma contracts of exporting power that the government has entered into. We are cancelling that. I have said that before, and I'm repeating it on this program. The people that will choose me to become president are Zambians. I am not interested in having neighbors coming to congratulate me for the power we are giving them in the spirit of good neighborliness. I am more interested in the Zambians that have chosen me to be president. Those are the ones we are going to service. So we are going to use the clause or the principle of force majeure to curtail contracts until we are sure that the Zambian market is saturated with energy.
How would that be looked at?
By who?
On foreign policy.
By who?
By the partners that Zambia
Which
has.
Partners? Which partners?
Are we not part of
those partners who are coming themselves? Are they going through the kind of load shedding we are going through? The kind of load shedding you're going through, which has made many businesses, abantu bali businesses. Abantu bali businesses. And these jokes of bringing Amalites 5 months before the elections is not going to help. Because for 4 years, they have kept us in the darkness. Even countries that were importing power from Zambia, or Namibia, they were importing power. They are still importing power from us. They have never experienced the kind of suffering we have experienced under this government. But to Chushaba, these guys have deliberately made us suffer. And now 5 months before the elections, they want to look clever? No ways. So, for us, we are going to curtail that, and they'll just have to excuse me on that. Secondly, we are not saying we will not give them power. When we have enough ourselves, then we can give. But not to give them before we have enough to make our people do their businesses. This government never cared about our welders. The government never cared about people with saloons. Never cared about people with butcheries. Even you guys running these stations like this, the kind of money we are spending, sometimes even salaries, you will not get because you have to buy diesel. Challenge. We have to normalize your lives. So for abantu, pashala abantu, we normalize your lives. Now listen. 2, once we do that, we are going to ensure that there is that project. When I was Foreign Affairs Minister, in Nepal, I went to Russia with late Msiska. We signed an agreement with the Russian Federation to do a nuclear power plant facility. You are aware about that power plant facility? In Chongwe. Which is supposed to generate 20,000 megawatts of power. The reason why I signed for that was because I knew that Zambia sometimes experiences shortages with these hydropower stations. So I knew that once we have a nuclear power plant facility, we will begin exporting power. Because at peak value, we only use about 2,200 megawatts of power. But this capacity is only 3,400 megawatts of power. If we're to generate 20,000 megawatts of power, we use the 3,400 or 2,200, 2,500. The rest, we talk about industrialization, because when you are talking industrialization, it cannot be in the absence of energy. That is why I have been insisting on that nuclear power plant. Because Zambia, if my industries will be mushrooming in each district, and we will have enough power using that nuclear power plant facility. Ikashala will be selling. Now, hydropower plants also, we know that in the southern corridor, the experts have told us that the rainfall pattern will be erratic in that way. So we in the Citizens First have decided that we are going to start building hydropower stations in the northern circuit, central corridor, Mkopa belt, so that we are not affected adversely by lack of rainfall in the southern sector. Teapopeka, I have heard about solar. Solar is not bad. Solar is good, but not for industrialization. Solar is only good if it is looking for lapa. Now what am panels pamulupadia? Tawayama light. So solar is not what you can use in our serious pantanch. Kanongolesta business never know, and you want them to be selling if my solar panels, Zambians, so that you can get money because you like money, then you insist on solar. But if it is to develop the country the way we want to develop it, we either go nuclear or hydro, so that we can. Yes, there's even thermal. We have to geothermal. We have to go through that. We have to go through biomass. We have to go through wind-propelled energy. But we have to be strategic in the way we take Zambia out of the quagmire. They have sunk us too low and will not play to their games. We have read that book. We have read that script. After 7 months, back to normal. Now, I'm a writer, please. After the win my elections, Zambians now will be experiencing 2 weeks of load shedding. Ngaba win about UPND. nga bawina ba UPND tukalaikala for 2 weeks ukwabula light because of amaria za ayene. So puele change la ichainta chumamayunza. Let's not allow them to go through in August.
Is Zambia technically ready for, you know, the type of energy that you're talking about, especially with what we've been told, environmental, also health effects, you know, that nuclear energy poses on, you know, citizens?
Zambia is very ready. First of all, when you sign a bilateral agreement, you take care of all those excesses. South Africa, we are here in Zambia. South Africa has got nuclear energy. Why is South Africa using nuclear energy? But Mozambique are developing a nuclear power plant facility. Mozambique, they're doing that. Why would we say, no, I'm effective, after all we have the ingredients of what is required in nuclear energy. It's uranium, we have it in Siavonga, we have it. So what is the problem? We have that, and the Russians are good at that. They will make sure that we have got no effect whatsoever. It will be all good. That is why in part of the bilateral agreement was that we train our young people to go to Russia. Those who are good in sciences, they were going to read nuclear sciences there. Once they finish, they come and manage our plant here. It was all worked out until they came. They destroyed it.
My last question to you, President Kalaba, is Bill 7. Now that Bill 7 is law, there are 228 members of parliament, elected members of parliament, that parliament is going to have. What does this look like for the citizens first?
220 or 211?
228.
Because it will be 277 member parliament,
Yes.
from what I know. 40 from the mixed member.
Yes.
And then you have now 11
that will be nominated. Yes.
So that is 51. So 51 plus 222. Yeah, it will be 222 somewhere there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is the, you know, citizens' first position with regards to Bill 7, but also now that there's going to be these many members of parliament? And additionally to that question is, with the current CDF at 40 million getting into 2026, are you going to maintain this CDF?
No.
You know,
No. I mean, CDF is a hoax. I've said that. So you know that. CDF, as a person that has been in government with experience, I know that CDF is a hoax, and we are stopping that that hoax. And I'm a jokes to Leleka CDF. We will continue. Again, CDF, you have to understand, CDF is a model that was used by our colleagues in Senegal. Eba fitampire. O tuwakopa kwa ifwe. Nomba ifwe ukopa kwa yesu. Tuwachana na tuwakopereko. Ba Senegal. Yo CDF 48 million. CDF mwaishibata. Waba nesu malo ufwa. They don't understand what it means to deal with decentralization. Decentralization, you cannot use a component of constituency development fund. Constituency development fund is like an emergency fund. You don't get money from line ministries to feed in the CDF. The CDF should feed in the line ministries. That is why Ine, who was getting 1.6 million when I was member of parliament, I did much more than those who are getting 48 million, 42 million, because it means from that same 42 million, 48 million, you have to do everything. That is not the way it works. We in the citizens first have decided that CDF will be reviewed, will not scrap it, but will just review it. We have also said, Bill 7 violated, which is now law. We never supported it. And what we have agreed with our colleagues in the Central Committee is that we are going to reverse that law. That Waisa Fear, Naimia Bible, so help me God. We are going to take it back to be reversed. It is a detrimental bill. It's the darkest bill in the history of this country. On surface, people will tell you, what is wrong with this bill? But once if you want to, has got a critical mind, will tell you, but akainde ichire na UPND ngawako serere chintu ishafati pali chimwapa. What are they trying to do? Here is the catch, in case you didn't see it. What they have decided in their mind, this is why they have said, for the mixed member, the percentage will not be calculated from the number of parliamentary seats you have. The percentage will be calculated from the votes a president will amass.
Yes.
And in their mind, ever win my elections in August. So he's going to have 50 plus 1. For argument's sake, he gets 50%. So it means without mixed member, Mr. Kainde Ichirema, out of 40, you will get half of that. 20 members of parliament. Plus the 11 which you will appoint. Yavana 31. Then, in his mind, he is now working on the delimitation of constituencies. He feels Southern Province, nobody can win him there. Western Province, nobody can win. Northwestern, nobody can win. So those seats put together, he thinks they are going to be much more than the seats in these other regions. And then he's going now to be making laws. The first thing Mr. Ichirema wants to do, if at all in the most unlikely event he won the election, is to change now, because according to him he will have the arrogance of numbers, and so he can go and say, Imwebantu, I think there are no term limits for members of parliament. There are no term limits for mayors and councillors, which he has managed to remove. Why did he remove them? He removed them in preparation for the future. I have always told people that Bill 7 is a presumptive bill. Bill 7 presumes Bakainde Bakawina, so that he will have mayors, balifunyapo ama kapsi, and then they'll say, but why should a president be the only one to have limits? And then he will tell now those members of parliament that will have created to now support him. That is where the catch is. And people don't see it that way. So he used the youth, he used the women, but I can tell you, the one who will get 50 plus 1, it is me. It is the CF who get that 50 plus 1. And once we get the 50 plus 1, we will not even use his method of trying to remove the clauses on the presidential. No, there was a reason why we put a cap on this thing. Amano Mambulwa, you cannot be wise in perpetuity. You should allow others to come and take over from you. Why does he want to continue being president in perpetuity? It's because of the so many things he has done wrong, and he thinks they'll follow him. But for us as CF, our target is to improve the livelihood of our people. We have got nothing to do with Mr. Ichirema. We'll leave him to be and to continue living in harmony. We will even make him be very comfortable as compared to the way I treated Walungu. Walungu suffered under his hands. Even in death, Walungu has suffered under Mr. Ichirema. For us, we will tell him, no, you are a former president. You have to be respected. She has to be respected. We don't want you to be uncomfortable in your old age and in your retirement. So that thing which has turned into law is about him. But I can tell you, and what was meant for evil, God will turn it into good.
A lay person, President Kalaba, would want to understand when you say you're going to repeal this law. Do you require a 2/3 majority to amend the constitution again? Should you, become president?
We'll take it back, because already Bill 7 is an illegal bill. First of all, what will happen, whatever he has done will be considered illegal if we take this to the interpretation of the Concord. Because remember that the Concord had ruled. So it will have no effect. If it is an illegal document, which has been sanitized to be legal, which went to parliament using the back door, and the Concord was very wise when Linda Kasonde and the Oasis Forum took that question to them. They said they could not adjudicate over the matter because it had been overtaken by events.
Right.
Now that does not mean that thing is legal. That will be visited. We'll take it to the Concord, and if the Concord says we had stopped it, it means whatever he has done is illegal, and all those who participated in it, including the Speaker of the National Assembly, will have a few questions to answer.
All right. You're watching Spotlight, and we've had a conversation with Citizens First President Harry Kalaba. And as we wind up, President Kalaba, I'd love you to just look into the camera, speak to the people of Chawama as we head to this by-election, but also speak to the people of Zambia as we head to the general election.
Kuchawama ni mipe mpani. My elections yaliko pa 15th January. nimipempa that musanke Captain Davison Mulenga ayimirira pa Citizens First. Ndiye ali pa number 1 pa candidates wonse ngati mwenda muja mukuvota mzaka peza ati Captain Mulenga Davis Mulenga ndiye ali pa number 1 na Simbo Nchimutengo pa CF. Ngati mwasanka ba Mulenga imwe amene mukamba ati Kalaba nkale president mu 2026 nishindiye step number 1 chifukwa ngati Mulenga ankala MP nisimauza the whole Zambia that ifuna Harry Kalaba na yeye ankale president. My elections amene yaliko mu January aya ndiye azalangiza ngati mwakondwela imwe kuchawama kunkala na load shedding. Ndiye azalangiza ngati mwakondwela imwe kuchawama na BO7 inapita amene ifuna ipase bahaka inde ichilema kunkala ba president for life. Ndimwe bachawama muzauza ziko yonse that you are not interested ma politics yosobela sankani ba Mulenga nishimwa sanka Harry Kalaba kumbukilani amuzani kudara ba presenter that mu 2021 nze nina Panama kunkala president. Number 1 benze bakainde ichilema, number 2 benze ba Edgar Lungu amene wanamwalira ngenze number 3 time yonkala number 1 ine yafika but pauti nikaya number 1 ine sankani ba Mulenga Davison bankala ba MP kuchawama nishimwambo segula Kalaba nkaya number 1. Mulungu amidali said this period of Christmas and New Year, please take care, please drive safely, please drink responsibly, please Zambia take care of yourself because we need you. May God bless you and yours and have a very prosperous happy 2026.